Okay, now it's on. See the red light. Sorry. Okay.
Have you been informed about the situation at all?
I've heard some things, but I prefer to rather hear from you. I got an email from you saying you had some concerns, so I wanted to give you some time to explain to you what your concerns are, and then we could discuss them from there. If that makes sense?
Yep.
All right.
It's basically the situation is that my daughter was walking home from school one day, and some landowner decided that he owns this property, of which I checked it before I even told my daughter to walk down it, and it looks completely open. And I spoke with Sargent Kelly on the phone that day, and I told him, I was like, look, like, it's an access easement of some sort. Like, I think it might be an implied easement at this point, but it's definitely some sort of easement. And like, I did more research, and I found, like, I got what an access easement is supposed to provide. If you want to look at that, and it fits that criteria, so it's like it definitely fits into that. And that's
Okay.
this is the difference between right of way and easement, which is what he was trying to say it was a right of way, but that would be exclusive for like one piece of property beyond the road, like. And then he tried to say that it was a private way, and the home landowner has up signs that say private way. But I mean, even then, a private way doesn't mean exclusivity, and it's definitely not illegal to go down it. So. And then I looked up, I was like, can a landowner block or put up signs and stuff and impair people from going down it? I found this that says no, they can't. They can't put up anything, a gate or anything like that, especially on an easement, and doing so it would be illegal to do it, which would actually be a crime. And that's another one for the landlord doesn't have absolute right to deny the public use of the land. I then went to, after I came here and I showed him Sargent Kelly all this stuff, and he still didn't want to listen to me, didn't want to look at my stuff. Like, he didn't do any sort of research or any sort of investigation into the subject, which I asked him to do on the phone before, because he intended to issue my daughter the trespass that day. And then when I came in, he intended to issue to me then. But I showed him this stuff, and he didn't want to look at it really, he didn't want to accept it, and he never ended up giving me the trespass notice. So I went to the town hall to see if Ridge Road is actually a private road, and the DPW director, I think he was, Mr. Woods.
John Woods, yes.
All he could tell me was that the road was unknown if the road was accepted or not, which you can see accepted would be like a public way. And then unknown is unknown.
Okay.
And then there's one here, unaccepted. That would be like a private way, which Ridge Road is unknown. Then I found this stuff. It's just like the goals and objectives of the town of Carver's commuter ways, I think it was.
This is under Carver's master plan, so it's not.
Yeah.
This doesn't hold. The master plan is not like bylaws. This was an idea of what they would like to do in the future.
Yeah, that's just
Okay,
like
yep.
what the criteria of it was. And
Right, but all I'm saying is the master plan does not hold any legal weight. It's just what they would like to do in the future. But okay.
just like this is what I found in my research.
Yep, no, I agree. So on this, what am I looking at? You highlighted some stuff, right? So that what you
that's just like the goals and stuff that they had for what they want to accomplish over over the years.
Right. Yep. You're right. Okay. So we understand that. Okay. Yep.
That would be more for like it's one parcel per acre, and I know there's more than that, but like that would what it would fit, and
Okay.
what would be required is a 4-foot shoulder on the side of the road, and then that'd be for the bicycles and all that stuff.
Okay.
This is more detailed that like direct connections and level bikeways and stuff like that. Sure.
Okay.
This this is another little tidbit of that.
Yep. Bike road, yep.
So I found, in my research, I found that Ridge Road is actually a historical road.
Okay.
It's in this. It's only mentioned once in the article, but it talks about how the Wampanoags used to live around there, and Ridge Road has been designated as a historical road.
Okay.
Which
Where was this from?
that's from the town of Carver history or something like that.
Okay.
And then I want to show you that, like, we're not just walking down the road blindly. Like, what she was doing is she was taking Mayflower Road, or she would take 58.
Okay.
And those are obviously longer roads,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously more dangerous roads. Like, that's what she kept coming home, like, upset, because cars were swerving at her and speeding by her and stuff like that, especially on Mayflower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a really sharp, twisty, windy road, lots of hills and stuff. So I remember from when I was a kid, Ridge Road. And so I was like, well, there should be another road there. Let me look. And I go on Google and you get the maps. And as you can see, it takes you right through Ridge Road. And that's it. That's where she turns on. And he's saying that this section here is his private way. Like, right here is where Ridge Road begins. Like, that's a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wait, where's it at?
pretty much right there.
Okay.
So that's what he's saying, is that nobody can go on that one piece of the roadway. And then I looked for bike paths. It was like my GPS won't take me down private roads or restricted access or anything, or tolls or anything like that. So I blocked all that stuff. So and that's off of my GPS, so it wouldn't take me down there if it was private. So I looked up designated bike paths in Carver, and as you can see, that runs right in concurrent with the pathway she was taking. So, like, that's another thing that indicates to me that's an accessible road. That's pretty much it for my research, besides this article that was posted in the Boston Globe about 2008, February 10th, 2008, which his research directly corresponds with mine. And it's like it's a reputable journalist. Like, he's been around for a long time.
This is about a different piece of land, though. This isn't about Carver.
Private ways, how it's public access. It continues on the back.
Okay.
But I thought it was a very interesting piece.
Did I miss it? Okay.
I mean, as you can see, I did pretty.
Yes, no, I can see you've done some research on the internet and brought it to me, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
So,
I also looked for anything that would play to their side, and I couldn't find anything. Like, anything at all. Like, nothing to indicate that they can trespass from an easement or a bike path or in a historical road or anything like that.
So you make decent, good points, and I'm not arguing against your points at all. I can read your research. I probably spend some more time on it, reading a little more in depth than what we've just done right now. But I do see that, and I'm not here to argue that point. That I guess I'd like to get to where or understand a little bit more what the concern is. That, and it's your daughter we're talking about.
Yeah.
And how old is she?
17.
Okay, so your daughter cuts through there to get to somewhere. Is that what happens? And again, I'm just getting from your side, right?
Yeah, she takes that route to get home from school.
And it sounds to me like there must be a landowner over here that doesn't like that and wanted to issue a no trespass letter to your daughter not to come through there. So, the last time I drove down Ridge Road was about 20 years ago working here, and I got a cruiser stuck in the sand where that new development is, right? So I haven't been down there long. I'm not going to tell you that I have. I don't. Yeah. I can't in my mind put that in exactly where that is. I know where it is, but I mean I haven't driven down there in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to. I can't. I'm not trying to argue points with you about that. But I guess what you're saying is that Ridge Road is. Are we saying that Ridge Road is his? Is he saying it's his driveway, and you're saying it's a private road? Is that where we're at? Because I'm just a little confused.
At first, he tried to say there was a private road, and then he was saying that it was his driveway. And when I did my research, I found that Ridge Road does end where he says his driveway is, but there is a designated bike path going right through there. So.
Okay. Through what he's saying is his driveway, or through Ridge Road? Okay. Because I'm just trying to get the facts. So what you're saying is there's a piece that's Ridge Road and a piece that is his driveway. Yeah. That you agree that is his driveway, but you think it's a bike path through there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in agreement that there's part that's something's called Ridge Road that we believe the public may or may not have access to. And again, I'm not arguing that point. That's there. And then a part of that is his driveway, which your contention is also a bike path. Yeah. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you or agreeing with you because I haven't been down there. But are we content? The point of contention is that the man can't tell her not to go on that piece or on his property. On
that piece of roadway. Like I don't want it going on her property either, but on his property either. But
okay,
so she seems more than open to me.
And I hear what you're saying. And again, there's in my opinion, doing this for 20 years, there's always two sides, maybe three sides to everything that's going on. Right? Everybody reads some things and interprets it differently. And that being said, we try to find a solution that doesn't involve the law, or involves people being good neighbors and working together, right? And I certainly think that we probably can come up with a solution like that, especially to try to accommodate so your daughter can get through there or get to where she needs to go and it doesn't bother him, right? And I think that's the solution we try to find. That's what I would try to find and try to get there. But I don't know what that solution is right now. You know what I mean? And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying, because a property owner does have a right to get a no trespass for their piece of property against anybody. They can tell anybody they can't come in their property. Determining what the property is or where it is a matter that in normal instances is pretty cut and dry, right? So if you live on a paved public road and your house is a square lot, it's pretty easy to tell, right? This one adds a wrinkle to it because there's some more maybe boundaries that are different. What he thinks one thing, you're saying there's something different, which doesn't mean either one is right or wrong. It means that there's a point of contention that would have to be argued out and figured out, which could happen, right? He could still have your daughter told your daughter she can't come onto her property. He could argue that his property is the road. You could argue it's not, and a magistrate could decide on it, right? But that's the process. That's how that would happen. But we'd like to try to find a way to resolve that without that happening. I would think, right? It seems to me like that would be it. Is that what we're trying to accomplish?
I wouldn't have had a problem with a girl walking through my bar. I used to work on bar. I did bars for 15 years, and I had probably 30 different easements. Some beneficial to me, some not. Mm-hmm. I was like, from my understanding in that field, I wasn't allowed to block any of those gates. I couldn't trespass anybody from going down it. Like, I couldn't really do.
Where was
much.
This property?
I was right in Kingston. Actually, I had some in Kingston. I had some in Norwell. I had some here in Carver, and I had some in Plimpton. Mm-hmm.
And I hear what you're saying. And again, if you had decided to, or they decided to, then somebody would say there'd be a point of contention to have either the court order assess and come up with an answer to, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're getting there. I think we're kind of getting ahead in the conversation. I guess what I'm getting to now is we're here today to discuss the concerns to accomplish. What do you want to try to accomplish today? You've presented me this, and I see it. And then where are we going with it? What are we looking to do?
Well, the first thing I'd like to know is if my daughter does use that roadway and Mr. Morris, I believe his name was, calls the police, whether or not my daughter will be arrested or trespassed from the property.
So the answer is also difficult to say because it depends where your daughter goes, right? It depends what he says is
Just
her
on the
property.
roadway, like that's it. If she
So
strays from the
I'm
roadway,
gonna need more time to
like,
go see what the because I don't and again, like I said, I haven't been out there in years. I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing, but I would need to look at it to give you an honest answer because I haven't been there. So I don't know what he's claiming is his driveway, and I don't know what you're saying is a bike path. You know what I mean? I would need to get to look into that some more. But I guess we could look at the worst case scenario. Like he gave her no trespass. We didn't serve her trespass. The sergeant said
she was never served.
right. So the sergeant said. I watched his body worn camera, so he didn't give it to you for service because there was contention. He was going to talk to John Woods, which he did, and we're here today. So it hasn't been served. She has not been told she can't trespass there right now by him, right?
Yeah.
Mass law requires her to be either told in person in front of us, like we go there. Let's say there's no order in place, and again, I'm only playing hypotheticals. I'm just using this scenario for. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if he called the police and she was there, and the police arrived. And she hadn't been served with a paper, then the law would require the property owner to say to her, I don't want you trespassing on my property more in front of the police, and that would be notice. And then if she did it again, then she might be subject to being charged criminally. No trespassing does allow for an arrest, but doesn't require an arrest. So more likely than not, it would be a summons process to a magistrate for him to determine that.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't. Arrests on trespass do happen, but they happen rarely, you know what I mean? It's more likely than not, if a 17-year-old girl was there and a property owner was saying, I've given her notice and I want her charged, the police would say, okay, well, they would get her information, you go home, we're going to send you a thing in the mail to go to a magistrate's hearing, right? They would not, very, very unlikely they would make that arrest. Can't say never, because it's a possibility, the law allows for it, but I've done this job for a long time. I know police officers, and there's not a desire to arrest a 17-year-old girl, right? That's not likely going to happen, but it could.
I would hope not.
But it could. I mean, we're talking about what's legal and what might happen, right? Those things sometimes diverge. So that could happen, right? That's her being noticed verbally in front of the police officer, or noticed by a bunch of signs. That's also a requirement of the law, or noticed by a piece of paper, either delivered by us or served by a constable or sent by registered mail from an attorney. That's a component of the trespassing law. You have to have notice first before you can be charged with a crime. So right now she hasn't been served. So right now, if they went there and they were both there, he might tell her, "I don't want you here," and then they would tell her, "You've been told, stay away from you." Now, in this case, where there's some contention about what's there for property, I go back to the other one I told you about. A piece of property is a square piece of property on a road. We know, okay, it's pretty clear, cut and dry. There's some point of contention. I would almost guarantee you there wouldn't be an arrest. There would be a report done, send it down to court to see what they think, right? Because that's who's going to ultimately decide this. A police officer on the street's not going to decide, did your daughter trespass or did she not trespass? A court would have to. And we would be the intermediaries there. We would be the ones saying, okay, this is what we saw when we got there. Here's our report. Let it go to a magistrate and let them decide. That's what I'm saying. If it's cut and dry, an arrest would be more likely, especially when it's not cut and dry. Nobody's going to say, well, let me take her into custody because
you don't know.
Because we don't know. We're not exactly sure. We have to try to apply the law for both parties as best we can, right? With what we have. On the street, we're not going to have access, an officer's not going to have access to this, nor are they going to have access to the registered deeds or GIS maps. They kind of you have to go with what you have. In Massachusetts, and I'm just using the term, I'm not saying that the landowner is the victim, but in the Massachusetts, the person who's the victim, that is inherently reliable if you know who they are and they can come into court and testify. So we have to give him certain deference to, he says his property is here, right? We hear that.
Yeah.
And then we listen to what, I don't think it is, I think it's different. So we would probably do a report that said this is what he said, this is what she said, this is where they were, and a magistrate would have to decide. We wouldn't make that ultimate decision. You know what I mean? That's just not in our purview to do. We don't assess, we don't survey property, we don't do those things. But sometimes you get caught in the middle. This is one that's a little tricky because, like I said, it's not a square on the side of a paved road. We can look, okay, here's your fence line. You know what I mean? We know clearly where the property line is, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
So
I understand how that works and everything, and that it would have to be decided in court. Mm-hmm. And like I offered Sargent Kelly to serve the trespass so that I could take it to court, but he didn't want to do it that day. He then sent me an email pretty much saying that she was trespassed without being issued a trespass, and that he was going to consider it resolved, which I don't think he conducted any investigation whatsoever besides what the homeowner says and then what his Mr. Woods believed at the DPW, which when I went and talked to him, this is all he could tell me was this piece of paper here. It's unknown.
Some of the ways that we establish whether a road is public and private for purposes of a citation. So there's certain motor vehicle citations that have to happen on a public way.
Yeah.
All the roads in Cranberry Village, all the roads in most of the parks are private ways.
Yeah.
So there's certain motor vehicle violations that we might be able to observe happening in there, but we can't give a citation because it's not in a public way.
Yeah.
How do we determine if it's a public way? Is it paved? Is it maintained by the town? Like, do they repave it? Do they paint lines on it? Do they plow it? Those things. That's how we determine
Yeah.
the issue of a public way. Now, is that the perfect way? No, but that's how you apply this in the real world, right? That's how we do it. So I can certainly see both Mr. Woods and Sargent Kelly saying, well, I don't think this is a public way because they don't plow it. It's not paved. It's not marked. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't find something that shows either it's an ancient way or something like that. That
Yeah.
definitely could happen, but doesn't usually happen in our realm. You know what I'm saying? That's a different realm of where those would happen. And I'm here. I see what you said. I still right now I don't have an answer because I don't know. I told you that I haven't driven down there. I don't know.
Yeah.
You mentioned bike paths. I'm not even sure if that plays in or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Because I'd have to find that out. I'm not aware of that being a bike path. It may be. I'm not doubting you, but I'd have to look into that more. I don't have that information, and I don't think Sargent Kelly had it at the time. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what I'm saying is when you talk about this scenario, there are other points that come up that would have to be handled, but they would be very unlikely that we would handle them at our level to get an answer because we can say anything we want. We could tell you she has the right to go there, or we could tell him he has the right to say she can't go there. But we're not really the determiners of that. We're the finders of fact that send it down for somebody else to decide at the courthouse. We don't make that decision. You know what I mean? It's similar to a motor vehicle accident now. Motor vehicle accident happens, everybody believes the police determines fault. Well, the police goes there and confirms there's a motor vehicle accident. If there's an obvious violation, they cite for it. But that report goes to an insurance company and they determine fault. It's not our job.
Yeah.
Our job to do that. And that's not the greatest analogy, but it's an analogy. Same with this. I'm not going to be able to decide or tell you one way or the other.
I'm not looking for that.
Yep.
I'm not looking for a decision for
Sure.
you guys. But, I think that I've raised enough of a case that Mr. Morris wouldn't be able to issue any trespass.
Well, and we haven't issued it to you. We haven't given you the letter.
No.
I think at this point, I don't disagree that there's enough contention that it probably wouldn't happen through us, but it doesn't mean he couldn't go to his lawyer and do it, right? Send you that, and then you'd have to deal with that. But I would suggest, we're all adults, and I would suggest we try to have a discussion between maybe you, me, and Mr. Mason, because Mason is his name, and figure out a solution to this instead of. We could do all this. We certainly can. We can figure out exactly whether she can or she can't. But I think we need to figure out what the problem is and solve the problem. That's my opinion, right? And it doesn't seem like it should be that big of a problem.
No.
Right? So I think...
Especially since there's lots of people that travel that road and go through there.
Well, and again, I'm not arguing because like I said, I've been not on patrol for a lot of years and I haven't driven down that way. But I guess... It seems to me like we are in agreement. And I think Sargent Kelly was in agreement with that day that there's enough attention. He's not going to give you the letter. Let's look at it more. You know, let's figure it out more. I know he talked to John Woods as well. You know, I mean, I see this. What you're saying is unknown. And as I explained to you, how do we determine what we think a public way is? What do we put in our police reports to show the court that it's a public way? And none of those factors exist in this. You know, if we were writing a report on this to say Ridge Road was a public way. Say somebody was driving on it with a car and we had to cite them. None of those factors that we normally use to do that are there. We would have to probably dig into that a little deeper to figure that out or not. Yeah. Same with this situation, right? And you've done some of that. I believe Sargent Kelly did. His due diligence did speak with John Woods, which is how we would determine, like, if it was a paved road, and there's a paved road up north. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's actually a private road that connects to. Yeah. But the DPW plows it. because it's there. They drive through there and plow it. So we would use that information from the DPW to say this is why it's a public way, not a private way, and that the town does technically maintain it because they plow the snow from it. You know what I mean? So, but those factors don't exist here because we don't. As far as I know, the town doesn't plow that. They don't do those things. So to come up with it, whether it's public or private, would be a little more research, right? We'll go down there. You've done some of that, and maybe that would be used, maybe that wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with. I'm just saying it's here. But I think this, and I don't know this other gentleman. I've never met him. I don't know who he is. But I would think we would start with a conversation and saying, okay, is there a way we can just have this happen so this young lady can get to where she needs to go and it doesn't bother anybody? Is there a way to do that? Right? That's what I would suggest, because as citizens, we all have rights, but we also have a lot of duties, and duties that try to work together to make things work, right? That's what I think. That's how I look at it. I see your shirt, and I agree with a lot of the things on there, but I think that with those rights comes some responsibility to work together to try to make society work as a whole, and that's always where I start. And I believe that Sargent Kelly did the same when he tried to talk to you. Maybe the conversation didn't go that way, but I think that's what he was trying to do as well, and I think that's where I would start if I were us. I mean, instead of waiting to see if he's going to serve a no trespass letter, maybe we just have a discussion and try to figure out a plan how we can make it work, because it certainly seems like we could.
I mean, I'm not going to approach Mr.
Mason?
Yeah. I'm not going to approach him myself.
I don't blame him.
So that would have to be facilitated through.
And we can do that.
Probably you guys.
Yeah,
or
we could do that.
Some other mediator, but I was like, I'm not going to approach him myself. So, I mean, that I'm sure you know how sideways that could go.
Oh no, and I'm not saying that at all. I mean, there are certain situations where I think that works, and there's some that I don't. And I don't know him enough to know whether it would work or not. I definitely would suggest that if we decided to go down that path, we would try to facilitate it first and see how that works. And it may not work. Maybe he tells me, "No, I'm not doing that." Okay, well, if he sends you a no trespass letter, then you'd have to decide what you're going to do next too. You know what I mean, from him. But we don't have the right to tell him he can't send you that letter either, because.
Yeah, you can send me the letter if you want. So.
No, I know, and then you would have to take action on your part. And I'm not saying that you couldn't. You have options that you could go to too.
Yeah.
But my opinion is better to try the first solution, to work together as adults and see if we can make it work. If we can't, then I get it. Sometimes it has to go that way. But I don't know that we need to start there. Just my opinion. So I don't know if I've answered your questions. I hope that I've listened. I've heard what you said, and I see what you said. Is this a copy for me, or are you going to? Do you want copies of this? Or?
I can make more copies. If
Okay,
you'd like
that's
to
fine.
hold on.
I have a copy machine, so I can copy them and get them back if you want. But my suggestion would be we try that path first. But that's completely up to you. I can't tell you how to do it, how to handle it.
I don't really understand like what his issue would be. Like I said, she's just walking through on her way home from school.
Well, no, and I'm not. I don't know what his issue would be either. The law doesn't require there to be an issue. The law just requires a homeowner to say he doesn't want somebody to come there. They don't have to have a reason why. You know what I mean? Just like you don't have to have a reason. I'll use the Second Amendment. Some states try to, in Massachusetts, you don't have to have a reason why you want a gun license. It's your right to have one, and you don't have to prove to anybody why. Yeah. Same thing with to say that somebody can't trespass on your property. They don't have to give us a reason why, or give anybody a reason. They're not, I mean, if he, let's say he just notified you verbally, he could tell you you can't trespass on your property. He doesn't have to tell you why. Just I don't want you. You know what I mean? That's not a component or element of the crime.
My understanding of that would be that if that section is a designated bike path or an easement of some sort, he'd be impairing it by trespassing people and putting up signs to make people think that they'd get in trouble going down there, and doing that would be illegal. So I don't think he would be allowed to do those things.
Well, and we'd have to go through the whole thing and figure out all these things. And I'm not even into that yet, because I see what you've presented to me, but I don't have an answer on that to talk to you about that tonight. Yeah. I think that what you've written is true, but I think that before we get to all that, we need to come up with a way of trying to find a path for her to use to get through there without it being a problem. I think that's the issue here. To me, that's just what I'm seeing, and I could be wrong. I could be missing that completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I think that's what we try first, but you don't have to. I mean, I can't give you any other options. We haven't served her with a trespass letter. We have no intention of doing that right now. He's been told that it would be on him to do that.
Yeah.
If you're amenable, I will ask Sergeant Kelly to reach out to him and find out if he can meet with us or if he'd be willing to meet with us, and maybe the three of us can sit here and talk. If you want to. You know what I mean? Again, I can't make him do that, I can't make you do that. I'm only offering that as a possible solution to keep the peace between you. That's,
I would be more than willing to sit down and have a conversation with him and see what the issue is.
okay.
Like I said, I'm not going to initiate that conversation.
No, I don't blame you. I'm offering it as a possible solution from our standpoint, rather than a.
I believe that he's got a wooden placard that says private way or private property or something like that up there, and I believe that would be impairing the easement.
And honestly, if that's how you feel about it, you have the great part about our system is you have the ability to file charges in court against him as well. If you think that that's a violation of the law, you can file charges with Windrush Court. The same thing he could do. It's right now we're not there from the police department doing it because I don't have enough. Right?
Yeah, I'm not asking
I know.
anything to happen.
No, and I know, and I'm just kind of explaining like the process.
Yeah.
The police can charge people with crime, but citizens can also charge people with crimes if they feel that there's enough to do that. Right? There's a process called a private complaint. We're not here right now. You know, I don't know where his signs are. I'm not sure what they say or what it is. You know, I'm hearing what you're saying with the bike path, and without seeing it physically, it's hard for me to say yes or no. Right? I heard from Sergeant Kelly that he believes there is a path that they can walk. That's somewhere over there that works. I don't know what that is because I'm not there.
He drew one on my map with the first one, and I went and looked for those pathways, and those pathways are clearly not easements, and they are definitely posted no trespass with official signage.
Okay, and again, for now let's try to have a resolve that we can just walk through the road. Right? I'm not saying that, but whatever it comes out to, we'll have to make sure there's a legal resolve, not pushing one trespass problem to another something.
Exactly,
we can't do that. So I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying let's try to find a way that we can make this work. That's what I think. I think that makes sense. I think that's a good starting place because we can always go down the other path. We can always continue this to having the court resolve it for us. Right? We can go down that path, but it's my opinion that we're always better to try to resolve it at this level. But we're not always successful. I've sat in this room before, in other rooms, the old station with people and tried to mediate, try to help get things resolved, and it didn't work. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's definitely not a guaranteed solution.
Yeah.
It really depends on people being able to sit down and talk things out. You know what I mean? And some people can and some people can't. And I don't know. I've never met this other guy, so I don't know if he could or he couldn't. You know what I mean? We're having a very good conversation, I think, about it, and I think if we included him in it, we would probably come up with look, my daughter just needs to get there. What's the problem? And maybe that's it. What is the problem? What is the problem? Is there something? Is somebody should go in? Is she stepping on? What is the issue? And if we know what the issue is, we can come up with a solution to it. If we don't, then it's hard to.
Yeah.
And when we just go, all right, well, we're going to do this and that. You know, we'll trespass somebody or take legal action. Then it's not as good a resolve. I don't think it'll work, but I think we try this first. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
But that's up to you. I don't know how you feel about that solution. I can't. I told you I'm in service for the rest of the week. I'm in service tomorrow in Norwood, and I'm off Friday, so I'd have to have him contact him and start to arrange some type of discussion maybe sometime next week. But in the meantime, she has not been trespassed. If he calls, as I mentioned before, I can't guarantee anything because human beings can do a lot of different things that I can't control. But if I went there with the contention that's going on, at the very least, I would write a report and say, well, let's send it down there and see what happens, because this is more than we can do it right here.
Yeah.
This is, this is on site right now to determine that, whether it's a bike path or it's not, whether it's a public road or a private road, all those things to decide right then and there and to say, okay, I'm going to take somebody into custody. I doubt that's going to happen. Again, the law says it could, but I really doubt it. I know our officers. I know how they handle things, and my philosophy from the top down is find the least negatively impactful way of handling the situation rather than the most. In the job we do, in the situations we encounter, there are many different solutions to things, and some are up here and some are down here. And it's my belief and my office's beliefs that we try to start down here. We can always go here later, but if we start here and it works, great. Everybody's happy. If it doesn't, we take other steps. But I would suggest we start here, and that's what I'm saying.
Like I said, I'm open to a nice meeting and having a little chat with him and see if we can work it out. But I mean, if he's not willing to work it out or have this chat, I need to take this situation off of my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was thinking that I'll do is I'll go down to the property and I'll walk the path until he calls one of you guys, and one of you guys come issue me the trespass or arrest me or whatever. But then I can take that to court and I'll be able to fight it that way.
Right, and you could,
I am going to pursue the what would you call it, a personal complaint or private complaint?
Against him?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can go to Wareham District Court and file your own criminal charges against somebody.
Yeah.
But you'd have to go down, you know where the courthouse is in Wareham?
Yes.
Okay, so you go to the clerk's office and there's a process. I don't know what it is because that's not how I charge people. But there is a process called filing a private complaint. Citizen against citizen.
Okay.
So you could do that too. You know what I mean? My suggestion is we try to figure this out first.
Yeah.
But,
I'll have the meeting first if he's willing to.
Yeah, and let's why don't we do it? My suggestion would be let me contact Sargent Kelly, have him contact Mr. Mason, see if he's amenable to sitting down and try to work. The three of us, work through this. If he is, great, and if he isn't, then we can take the next step. That would be what I suggest. You know what I mean? There are options you have. I've explained what they are to you, and those are legal options you can pursue. I just don't know if you need to. You know what I mean? Because I don't know this guy. I don't know this man yet. So why wouldn't we try that first? But that's completely up to you.
I'd hope it wouldn't go to that level and we can hash it out. But
me too. No, I agree. And I've told you from that. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I can't guarantee
I
that.
understand the man. I don't want to defamate him or anything. But from what I understand, he's kind of obnoxious and not really all that reasonable.
Okay. Well, I don't know him at all, and that may be true. That's a possibility. I've met people that are very reasonable.
I've never met him myself either.
So I don't know that for now. But all I'm suggesting is I think this is a good starting place because if it works and we resolve it and the two of you become friends or at least become good neighbors. I don't know what you want to term it as, but that's a better solution in the long run than taking each other to court. You know what I mean? You can. I'm not saying you can't, but I believe let's try to find a solution down here, not up here. Yeah. That's me. And that's just my suggestion. But I can't guarantee it. I don't want to waste your time either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think it's worth a little time to find out if he's even willing to sit down and talk. And if he is, let's try to come to a resolve. If he isn't, then you have those options. You have those options for, you can exercise them anytime you decide to.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're losing anything by waiting a few days to see if that'll work. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, no, I'd wait until we could sit down. I'd rather hash it out without any anything. So.
Yep. No, I get you. That's just what I think. But.
Like I said, I had tons of logs, and people walked through and rode their bikes. The only people that I ever had a problem with was the dirt bikers.
Yep.
But that's only because they tear up my road.
Sure. No,
I just asked them not to tear up my road, and it was good after that.
So I've worked here for a long time. I live in Dartmouth. There's criminal logs there as well, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that they don't. I see people walk on criminal logs all the time. Doesn't make it legal or illegal. It is what it is. It's nobody can trespass on the property of somebody else just to do it, right? The blog owner could say nobody can walk here, and then post a guard there and try to make sure nobody walks in their blog if they chose to. It doesn't become public land because it's agricultural.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like if you're wandering the bogs like that, that is definitely private property. It's not an easement.
Right.
It's not
exactly
a roadway or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the bog area. Like on the map there.
This one?
Either one. You can see other roadways and stuff.
Yep.
But like these are bog roads and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
they don't come up at all. At all.
Right. And all I'm saying is there's two sides to this question too, right? My aunt always liked to ride horses and felt that because she was riding a horse, she could go anywhere. Well, you can't. It's still private property in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, all land is incorporated into some city or town, right? There's no unincorporated land like there are in some of the western states where it's unincorporated, then you're right.
Yeah,
Anybody can go there and do whatever they want,
every
right?
square inch is owned.
Right. Massachusetts, the state, is all incorporated. Every piece of land is incorporated into a town and a county, right? They're all incorporated. So there is private property issues, and you can't just go everywhere you want. Some people let you. Most bog owners are very reasonable, I think, in letting people use their bogs because they want to be good neighbors. Except exactly what you said when they're dirt bikes and they're tearing stuff up and damaging. If you're not damaging my property, what do I care, right? It's good. And I get, as we've moved forward, I started this job in 1995. Now we're 2023. I think people are more liability conscious too now. So sometimes people are like, it's not that I want people, but I don't want to risk somebody getting hurt and me getting sued. I don't know if that's even a valid excuse, but people get nervous about that nowadays. So they worry more about liability, I think, than they did in the past. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people might be like, no, I don't want anybody on there. But it also becomes very almost impossible for somebody to constantly patrol their property and make sure so there's always going to be people walking. I'm sure there's always going to be people walking on Ridge Road. I don't know what the issue is concerning your daughter. I'm not sure why. That's what I'm saying. I think we need to figure out, because I'm sure other people travel this or have traveled this in the past. Or like I said,
I just saw some kids walking. They were coming out of where he wants to trespass my daughter from this morning on the way to work. I saw them. There was like 5 of them.
Well, I think that's the next step in this, is to figure out why and what we can do about it, right? And then
maybe those are his kids. I don't know. I don't know those kids, but it's
no, I know. I agree.
It's like there's a bunch of people walking.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I'm a father of several daughters myself, and I get that part of this too. You know what I mean? So.
I think that takes care of this, really. Like, if we can schedule a meeting and have a sit down and talk to him, like, that'd be awesome. My other concern was with Sargent Kelly.
Okay.
Like I said, I showed him this stuff. He didn't seem to want to read it or look at it or anything of that nature. I mean, I kind of got him to, but it's like he was just not interested whatsoever. And like I said, I feel like he did a subpar job on his investigation. Like, I understand he spoke to Mr. Woods, but I mean, so did I, and Mr. Woods couldn't tell me anything. So,
well, you asked me what I did. The only thing I had to do was look at the body camera from that day, right? That's the only thing I could do right now. I looked at that. I think the conversation could have been better on both sides of that, but I also think
I was a little
that
upset.
And I get that, but my opinion from doing this for a while and knowing who Sargent Kelly is, I think that he did his due diligence that he could at the time, and then I think he did follow up with Mr. Woods. I know what Mr. Woods told him, and I've talked to John myself. So I think that this is as I mentioned before, there's some points of contention here that I don't think we're going to resolve in this building. I don't think you and Sargent Kelly were going to resolve in the lobby either. I think that there's some stuff here that needs more expert advice on than we're going to be providing you with. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get that expert advice. You know what I mean? We're going to go, the resources we have access to a town hall, right? We'd have to go there and see what they say and go on that.
The other part is that Sargent Kelly had written the trespass and was planning to serve it to my daughter that day, and then he had it ready for me when I showed up. So
we don't
intended to serve it.
We don't write trespass letters. Citizens write trespass letters and give them to us to serve.
He's the one who was serving it, so I mean.
But that's our job.
Still coming through his hand and through his authority.
But he was doing his job, and that's what we do. We do serve those as a courtesy to residents. As I mentioned before, a lot easier to look at it when it's a square lot and knowing that. This one adds some confusion to it, but we do, as a normal course of business, serve no trespass letters to residents in town. If they can't be served, we advise them to take them to their lawyer or to a constable or to serve them by registered mail, which is all reasonable ways or legal ways they can do that as well. So I believe that he was doing his job when he's asked, right? And in serving that, sometimes you come across situations like this that are contentious, and we adjust. And I believe that's what he did. Yes, he did have it. This man brought this to us to be served. He was doing his job. He didn't seek it out. He was working that day. Dispatch called and told him that somebody here wanted to file a no trespass letter, and that's his job to do that. So I support him in doing that. He was doing the right thing. He talked to you about it. Looks like the video that I watched back and forth. He agreed that okay, I'm not going to serve this because there is some points to be hashed out here, and he didn't serve it. If that were not the truth, if there were no contentions, if it was just that square lot, he would have said, here it is, and you got to go, right? But I believe, in watching the video, I believe that he handled it professionally and talked to you about it and heard what you said. I know he didn't, I sorry he didn't accept your papers because I don't think he felt he needed them. But he heard what you said, and there was enough there to say, we're going to hold and put this back to Mr. Mason to see what he wants to do. Right?
Yeah.
And then it would be on Mr. Mason to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to mail you it? Is he going to have a lawyer do it? Is he going to have a consul do it? Is he going to, what I mean? But we're saying, there's enough here that we're not going to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that he did do his job because the guy came in and asked to be served. And if it was that piece of property we talked about that was cut and dry, here you go. It is what it is. I can't, this is on him. We're not telling you. We're just giving you a piece of paper saying he's telling you. But because he ran into some contention with it and some points that I believe he did look into with what resources we have, and you looked into with the resources that you have, he didn't serve it, right? Because he felt there's enough to say, we need to look into this more. Somebody needs to look into this more. Push it back on the person who wants to do it. That's his responsibility. You want to do this, you talk to a lawyer and figure out whether you can do it or not. Because your property isn't a square that's cut and dry with a fence around it that we can definitely say that's your property, right? And so I believe that he did take that into account, and which is why he chose not to do that day. That's my opinion, and that's what I see out of it. You know what I mean? So I do hear what you're saying, and I do think that I don't know. I think that he did initially do his job the way he's supposed to. Dispatch told him there's no trespass served, just like we've done a million times. And when he brought it, I think did he talk to you on the phone? I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth because I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was something about, or I thought there was something mentioned either on the video or I don't know.
When I spoke to him on the phone, I asked him to do this investigation, and he told me that he would, but I mean, when I got here, he didn't have anything to show me. So
well, I don't think we would do an investigation by this. I think he would talk to town hall and find out, is it a public way or a private way? You know what I mean? And I think, as I explained to you before, how do we determine what a public way and a private way is? First, we don't usually have to talk to there because we see the pavement, the markings, the plowing, stuff like that. This road doesn't have that. So in my mind, I've been here working here 20 years, I would still think it's a private road. That's just how I would look at it, right?
I believe it is also a private road myself, but it doesn't represent exclusivity.
But see, these words doesn't necessarily. So all I'm saying is,
yes.
so we can sit here and have a discussion, come back and forth, and both interpret that to be. I'm not saying we are. I'm just saying we could both interpret these words differently. That's why there are lawyers in courts, because they do the same exact thing. At this point in time, I can't tell you whether he has that right or not, which I explained to you.
That the section he's talking about isn't even a roadway. Like I said, Ridge Road is dead end, and then his driveway would be the easement to Ridge Road. So that would he wouldn't be able to block or repair.
But we would certainly have to legally determine that. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying we would need more than just this to determine that. We would need to show. And again, I don't want to get into it because I haven't driven down there. I can't even conceptualize in my head where the dead end is and where this is. Right? I haven't been there in a long time, so it's hard for me to discuss this because I can't picture that in my head yet. I've seen it on this paper, but I would need to see it. And what you're saying is the piece coming from Tremont Street to that dead end, I would assume, right? You're saying this is an easement.
Connects right to it.
And that may be true, and it may not be true. We own property in Dartmouth. There's some pieces that were sold out front that we have an easement through to get to our property in the back. It's an easement, but it's not a public easement.
Yeah,
nobody else can use
it, right?
Like
a private right of way, a private easement.
Right. And what I'm saying is town hall can't say to us anything about this being an easement, right? We don't have that. We probably need to conduct this investigation at the Register of Deeds to see if that is listed as an easement in the Register of Deeds somewhere. I'm not saying if it is or it isn't. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying that we need to look into that more if that becomes a problem, right?
What other things I found in my research is that easements, unfortunately, aren't really usually very well documented. So
well, I don't disagree.
It
is very hard, but that's documentation you'd need to have to prove in a court. So let's, for the sake of the argument, go back to so you walk down the road, he says you're trespassing, and you get charged with trespass, and you go to court.
Yeah.
Right, and the magistrate looks at it and goes, looks like probable cause to kick it forward. Probable cause being it's more probable than not that you were trespassing. Right. That's the level of proof we need to charge somebody with a crime, and it's a level of proof a magistrate needs to send it to a judge, right?
Yeah.
If they found that probable cause, somebody from the district attorney's office would have to go and prove this part, and somebody from the defense side would have to prove that part. That's unfortunately where it would actually, the rubber would meet the road. Before that, we're all talking about probable cause. So you're saying it's more probable than not that there's an easement there and it's public. He's saying it's more probable than not that it's not. All I'm saying is we don't have the resources here to determine that. We're not a land court. We're not the registry of deeds to show that easement. And as you mentioned, many deeds are recorded on a deed somewhere, but you'd have to know what deed to go even look at to find that easement, right? And we could go through all, we could get there. But that's why I'm saying with the contention on this one, I think we're better off to find a way through this than taking it to court. You know what I mean? Because you're right. I don't know. Sitting here right now, I don't know if there's an easement there or not. I couldn't tell you that. I'm not. Sergeant Kelly couldn't tell you that.
Looked at it, you'd probably be like, yeah, that looks like an easement to me.
Well, somebody's driveway can look like an easement too. You know what I mean? Like I see what you're saying, but I also can look at it the other way. This guy might just see this as his long driveway. You know what I mean? That's maybe how he views it. So I'm just trying to see both sides of it. I'm not arguing either way on this. I'm not trying to say it is or it isn't. I'm saying that the process of determining that is a lot more in depth than you and I sitting here. Oh, yeah. This I see what you've done for research, and I'm not disagreeing with it. And it's how we learn things nowadays. It used to be encyclopedias. Now we look at things up on Google. But to prove it's an easement, or to prove that it is that, we're going to need more than just what you and I think about it. We're going to need something that shows that, right?
And that's what I was asking Sargent Kelly.
But I don't believe we have that in town hall. I don't believe we have that in town hall. Or access to that here. You know what I mean? That's somebody could pay a land lawyer to research that and come up with it, but I don't think we're there yet. We may need to go there, but I don't think we're there yet right now. Again, whether this is not agreeing or disagreeing with what you're saying, it's just saying that this is what we have right now. I think to determine whether it really is an easement is going to require some more legal research into this. You know what I mean? So
probably a detailed survey and all that stuff.
Yes, and I'd like to find a solution that it saves everybody that time and gets neighbors working together and neighbors. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. We can go down that road, but we're not there yet. But Sergeant Kelly, being a patrol sergeant in Carver, doesn't have access to those resources, and we just don't. You know what I mean? So he's going on what he's been taught, how we determine a public way, as I mentioned to you before, and how we work things through, right? How we do that. Yeah. Again, if somebody's going to get charged with a crime, we have to have probable cause. And probable cause, when you have a named victim, is you have to inherently believe the named victim. So you come in and say somebody beat you up, and you're the named victim, you're inherently reliable according to the law of Massachusetts. We have to go, okay, well, he said it happened. Now we're going to look. You got bruises on, you got something like that. I'm using a different example now. Yeah. But we're going to look at what you present. You know, okay, well, you don't look beat up. Well, oh my God, you're a black guy. You know what I mean? Okay. And then you said John Doe did it. That's enough to charge John Doe with the crime of assault and battery, because our job isn't to prove beyond. Well, at this moment, is not. Eventually, it is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt through the district attorney's office. But right at that point is to decide Jonathan's beat up, and he's saying John Doe did it. That's enough to arrest that man. Mm-hmm. We would probably look at it more and talk to him, get his side, get your side, see if there's any witnesses, put all that together, and send it to court. That's who's going to decide: is there proof beyond a reasonable doubt that John Doe beat up Jonathan? In this scenario, it's the same thing. If we go to somebody's house and they say it's their property, right? Again, back to this box. Could be that it's not, right? Could be the deed could be in somebody else's name, but they're in charge of the property, right? They say that.
I think it is actually in somebody else's name.
And that may be true too. But I'm not using. But let's say this square. They say this is my property, and Jonathan came on it. Okay, Jonathan, you can't go on it. Well, I can, and I'm going to stay on it. After he told you, now you could be subject to being charged with trespassing, right? All that's based on probable cause, because we don't know that we this is the guy who's got a driver's license, says he lives here. Okay, the law assumes that he's the owner of the property or in control of the property, but it's still really based on probable cause. To go to court and get a conviction would require them to prove it's his property, prove he has control of it, and to prove you were there. Do you understand the difference? Like, we operate under less of a standard, well, not less of a standard, but an easier standard, because we can't possibly at the scene know that. right? We don't have that ability. So that's why the law allows that. That's why the law allows you to come in and tell me this happened, and I believe you because you're inherently reliable because you're a victim or a witness. You know what I mean? That, and a named person who can go to court and testify is reliable. Anonymous, if I didn't know who you were, you know what I mean, then that changes things. That changes how the legal standard of it. So I think, I don't know, I think I've gone off on a tangent explaining this to you a little bit, but I hope it's as clear as I can make it to you. That I think the best thing is to try this approach, and then if it needs to go down another approach, we can always see that later on.
I agree with you that way. Like, I think we should take the first approach first. If it goes south from there, then we can take it further. But and I'm willing to do that if need be. Like, that's the only real safe route for my daughter to walk home. That's not smashed with traffic and speeders and all that stuff.
So I think at the end of the day, what we want to resolve is getting a safe path for your daughter to walk down to go, right? Through this property, through this area there. That makes sense? Yeah. All right. So I think we can probably accomplish that. If you give me a little bit of time, and I can get back to you and we can make a plan from there.
Awesome.
And as far as, like I said, I do believe that Sergeant Kelly did do his job that day. And I get where you're coming from because, like I said, I have daughters and I understand that. And I think you're doing your job as a dad, right, to do that. And I think both of you doing your jobs sometimes can be, you know.
Yeah, we were adversarial at that point.
I think so, yeah. I think both sides were, like I said, I think he had a job to do and he was trying to do it. And I think you had a job to do and you were trying to do it. And sometimes those don't match up perfectly, right? That's just the nature of human beings. But I don't think that I watched it, I don't feel that he was unprofessional, and then, you know, I think
no, I wouldn't say he was unprofessional. He treated me with respect, and he did speak to me like a human being. So
right. No, and I'm
not trying to say anything like that, just,
okay.
I was disappointed in the amount of investigation they did.
Okay.
But if that's all he can do, then I guess that's all he can do, really, so.
Well, I believe that's the level we have for a police sergeant in Carver right now, right? I mean, I don't think he has any ability to go to the registry of deeds or do some of the things I think would be required to prove it's an easement or not an easement.
I think what really made me think that he would do more of an investigation was that I noticed that he was formerly a detective. So I figured that he would do a little bit more of a research, but if that's, like I said, if that's all he can do, then that's all he can do. I can't hold that against him if that's all he's got. Like,
well, I know him. I've known him since we hired him back in 2011. I think he's a very competent police officer. He was a detective for a long time. He's a very competent police sergeant, and I think that he's done good work. I think in the midst of all this, we have, we're just getting it to 18 police officers now, but we've been at very limited staff to have 2 people on the road, and it sometimes the day can get consumed very quickly with other calls as well. So I'm not minimizing this. I'm just saying that we have very limited resources sometimes, and we use them to the best of our ability. So I believe that he did, and I'm glad that we got a chance to sit down and talk. I think that this has helped, you know, me to understand it a little bit better. I hope it has with you.
It's definitely made me feel better about the situation.
Okay. So I appreciate that. And I don't think that I have your phone number. If I can get that, I can call you.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. Do you want to write it down?
Yeah, I'll write it down.
Thank you. And did you want me to make copies of this?
If you want those for your records, you can keep these, or I can print them off. I have them all saved in the file, so I can reprint.
So you don't need copies of this, or?
If you want to keep them, I can check them out. And
well, I just like to read through it more. I mean, I read through it cursorily here while I'm trying to talk to you. I'd rather have some time to read it a little bit more, but it's up to you. I mean, I can go. The copy is right there. I can just make a set of copies from it if you want.
If you feel like doing that, that'd be fine.
All right, give me 1 second. I'll do that, and then we'll go from there. I do have to. I have a hearing. Actually, you know what?
That's right. You can keep these.
Okay.
I'll just reprint my own.
All right, and I will. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I will call you.
I did have one other concern, not related to this, but it's out in the lobby. There's a sign when you come in. I'd rather show it to you than.
No, I always said the sign. This is about search, right?
Yeah.
So the building is divided into 2 sections. There's a public section and a private, and a alarm section. Once you came through that door in the lobby into here, that's the secure area. So in the lobby and in the training room, in the bathrooms, that's not true. But if you come through that door, If we had reasonable suspicion to believe you had a weapon, then you would be subject to search.
That's precisely my issue. Is that I think that sign needs to be put on the other doors. That if somebody was to do that, like that would be a Fourth Amendment violation.
Well, we're well aware we wouldn't search somebody in the lobby. They would be search. I'll give you an example. Somebody came in to do one of the First Amendment audits to talk to us. They came in and filled the lobby. I just happened to be up there. I talked with them, offered them a tour of the station, which we gave them. Explained to them, once we go through this door, I'm allowing you to record. Once we go through this door, this is actually not a public area anymore. It's not subject to be recorded. It's not. The sign is the same reason if you come through that door. We're all well aware of that. They're always going to search somebody in the lobby or to go in the training room. And honestly, nobody's ever been searched. It's there because it's a possibility if there was reasonable suspicion to believe somebody had a weapon or something that might harm the building. Because once you come past that door, it's no longer a public area. It's a police station. It's a secure area. So that's why it's there.
The door that you brought me through?
When you're in the lobby, you remember when I opened that door that came out to the lobby? Yeah. After that door is secure. That door is secured by electric lock. Once you pass that door, you are subject to search if you came in here.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be based on reasonable suspicion. You can't just search people, right? There has to be some reason why. But people have to be aware of that they could be if they come into here. So that's why So the day that I brought the person in, I explained to them that they could record the lobby or the outside. One was live streaming, one was not. The one that was one said, no problem, I'll shut mine off and go in. The other woman decided to just stay in the lobby. Yeah. That's a choice she made because of the regulations of the building, and it worked out fine. But again, that sign is designed for coming into the secure part of the police station. People use the training room. The Girl Scouts do. A knitting club does. A whole bunch of people do because the library rooms are shut down right now. Nobody who goes in there gets searched. That's a public area. So there's two different parts of this building, even defined by the building permit and by that allows the occupancy permit is designed. This is the public area. This is the not private, but secure area.
That's why I think that sign should be moved to the other door, so people don't get the wrong idea.
I hear what you're saying. That's the building is designed by an architect that designs buildings, and that was put there by him. I don't. I'll consider it, and we'll make a plan from there. But nobody gets searched coming into the lobby, and our officers are well aware of that. The lobby is designed to be a safe space, though. It's all the walls are bullet resistant, and it's designed to be able to protect somebody who is fleeing for somebody who was committing a crime, so that they can get in that area and be safe. So that's it is a fairly high-tech police department that's designed to be able to protect people and keep people safe. And that's the whole purpose.
I was looking at that while I was waiting, and I saw that it was like all bulletproof. It had the little bulletproof things.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's designed as a very modern police station designed to last 50 years or more, and all those things have to be factored into how it's built. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate to have such a nice building, and I appreciate your comment on it, and I'll consider it. I don't know what we've been able to do with the sign, but I get your point. I hear your point. Yeah. But I can assure you this, regardless of where that sign is, we're all well aware of what the purpose is from our standpoint. And we would be the ones doing the search. So, you know what I mean? It's not, somebody else is going to come in and search somebody there. So I think we have it well in hand that it's not designed for that. It's designed for people coming into the secure station, the secure area of the station.
Secure part, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's what it should be.
Yep. No, it definitely is. Yep. All right. So you said I can keep these?
Yep. You can keep that.
All right. I will put this. Like I said, I got a hearing that was supposed to, a dog hearing supposed to start at 6, so I gotta move on to that if that's okay. If you're good.
Don't want to hold you up any longer than that.
No, you haven't. Unless you have something more, I'm happy to listen to you. But I want to try to get that done too, because I know they're waiting out there for us. So.
Yeah, that's all I had.
All right. So my intention now is to have Sergent Kelly contact Mr. Mason, see if we can set something up, and let you know likely early next week, if that's okay. Is that all right? So we're good with that. I will call you either Monday or Tuesday and let you know what we found out from him. And if he says no, then we can make another plan. Yeah, makes sense. I think it's a good start.
I hope he says yes.
I do too, because I like to find ways to resolve matters that don't involve us going to our courthouse. That involve us just working together to get it done. That's what I like to do. I mentioned before, I like to start down here. I don't like to start up here. When we start up here, we negatively affect people's lives that we don't need to, right? Sometimes we have to. There's times when you got to just arrest people, and I understand that too, but there's a lot of times when we don't. So we don't try to do it that way, if that makes sense. All right.
Let me take my crypto.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Unless you want it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Right.
All right. Right this way. Yeah. Hey, Larry.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Again, I thank you for your time. I hope it was educational, and it was for me. I learned a bit. I appreciate the information, and I think we'll work together to get it resolved. That
Thank
makes
you
sense?
very much.
All
I
right.
enjoyed it. It was a very pleasurable conversation.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you. Have a good day. Oh, I'm going to shut this off.